podcast excellence since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts radio network, kingofpodcasts.com.
The Monday Night Raw debut on Netflix. Did it finish yet?
Woo! Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it. Because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence. The King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
And welcome to the Wrestling is Real podcast. This is King of Podcasts here with you. Back once again, new year, and we just finished up. We have the second Dynamite of the year that was on Max, and WWE's Monday Night Raw debuting on Netflix. Now, as I begin tonight's program, which of course you can find all my content over at kingofpodcasts.com, and the fact of the matter is that I am here broadcasting episode 900 of the program. Episode 900 of the Wrestling is Real podcast. And for that change of number 900, I decided to go ahead and change the logo of the show. Something a little more simplified. But anyway, I just did that. But again, website, all social media, all past episodes, going back to 2013. I have other episodes from the very first year and a half, which at some point I'm going to finally just put up as archives. I just haven't done it yet. But let's get to the Netflix debut. Look, there's a reason why movies, a certain set of movies that, you know, big blockbuster movies, big stars, big budgets, with storylines, they get thrown out into theaters. 30 to 45 days of exhibition. And then they're moved over to a streaming service. Meanwhile, Netflix, they'll go ahead and just produce movies on a streamlined budget. They might have some stars that are a little bit past their prime. But then what they do is, these movies, they get put together. They look good enough to go ahead and be shown as movies. But remember where you're watching it. You're watching it at home. You're not worrying about what concessions you have right now. You want to get up, go use the restroom, go grab a drink, or, you know, grab a beer, grab a soda for the fridge. Yeah. Make some food. Stop everything and just go do something else. Take a phone call. Yeah. That's the kind of quality that you get on Netflix. Let's be honest here. I chose not to buy Netflix. Okay. But what I did do is I watched the debut on the international feed. And for those of you that did not get a chance to watch the international feed, man, I feel sorry for you. The only way to watch Raw on Netflix was on the international feed with no commercials. Because what they actually did was, it was even better than what they do when you have Peacock Plus, which I have. When you're watching the pay-per-views, they give you the storylines and the build-up to whatever match is coming up. And you get some significant storyline. You actually get a lead up. And, you know, we always complain about the fact that we used to get those kind of recaps all the time. And, you know, they were kind of drawn out. And like some of the storylines we didn't like. But at least in some cases, the recaps that you get during these commercial breaks, when you're just getting loads of ads, which if you're paying $7.99 or $23 a month, I don't know if you expected that to happen. Okay. The Netflix viewing experience, was it any much better? Interesting. What about the audience? Ratings? Oh, people were trying to go and find out about that. No, couldn't find anything. We have some guesstimates. WrestleNomics, you know, kudos to Brandon Thurston for trying to go and reach out and try to find some information. Some people tried to go out there and try to find information on it. Couldn't find anything about it. Because you're not. I explained how certain things were going to happen on Netflix. You're not going to get ratings. You're going to get commercials. I was right on both of those. I don't want to be right, but I was. For a 3-hour show, remember, there were 4 matches on the card, and we still had matches where we got cut to commercial in the middle of the match. Still happens. Now, the cut to commercial during the matches, the match continued after a brief pause. Fade to black, come back in, commentary continued like it was nothing. For the international viewers out there, The toxic wrestling fandom of America, North America, whatever, yeah, you guys shafted. You're paying the price you're paying. You're not getting Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and the pay-per-views on Netflix. No, you still got to go to this hodgepodge of Peacock for the pay-per-views, Netflix now to pay for Raw, and you still can watch SmackDown, NXT all on different channels. Meanwhile, if you're overseas or in America, Max shows all the AEW programming. The only difference is they're doing the right thing by charging a premium for the pay-per-views. Why not? I'm an avid moviegoer. I went to 60 some odd movies last year in the theaters. I have a subscription, and I go out of my way of enjoying the movie experience. I got to get up, get dressed, go over to the theater, buy popcorn and a drink, or candy, whatever else. Go to the theater, and then I go ahead and, imbibe. Watch the movie. Put my phone down and actually watch and enjoy it. So I go through all that right there. And the thing is that while I watch, I'm saying to myself, well, I got to make sure to, not watch my phone, whatever. Like, I'm going to pay attention to the movie. I'm going to give this movie the attention it deserves because I'm invested in it. There's a storyline, there's a budget, there's a whole thing going on. Some big name stars in here for the most part, or some stories that are independent, but have a good, intriguing storyline I'm going to be interested in. But there used to be a thing, for some of you who don't know this, there used to be back in the day, the whole idea of watching movies on video and how certain movies never made it to the movie theater. They went direct to video. It happens all the time. And there's a reason why direct to Netflix is the same thing. Look at some of the movies that have been out there that went direct to Netflix, except for like Knives Out. Think about Red Window. Think about, all these Adam Sandler movies that keep getting done, right? Or think about, like, there's a thing where Apple TV Plus, or Amazon Prime, they at least made the attempt or are making the attempt of putting the movies out in theaters first before they stream them on their sites. So there's value behind these movies. So they can charge video on demand to get those movies for those that want to go and watch it after it comes out of theaters, right? The plan to actually make money off of these because it's based on quality, right? But the fact that the current incarnation of WWE right now on Netflix, yeah, you're getting what you pay for. It's watered down. You're not getting the stars you normally would get. I mean, you're getting it right now. Okay, we got Rock, John Cena. Yeah, and then, you have other stars that'll be part of the mix. So they gave us pay-per-view quality matches for the first night. They won't be able to keep that up. And then the pace of the show targeted towards, new adopting viewers. I get that part, but even if you're an adopting new viewer and you're catching the live stream because it pops up on your home screen as soon as you open up the app, as soon as you open up Netflix, that was on there in front of you, right? Right in front, live event. So they were directing people to it. But then if they're watching it, compared to the pace of the other shows that they watch or anything else they watch on Netflix, do you feel like they were going to be really intrigued with what they got on Monday night? It can change from week to week, sure. I mean, we got to give it time to see what it does, but we're never going to know the progress, or if there is any progress, because we're not going to see numbers. Netflix is notorious for never giving out numbers, okay? There's a reason why the actors and writers went on strike last year, because of the fact that one of the things that the actors, the writers, the producers, all these people, they wanted to make sure that they were getting residuals, right? Money back on whatever shows were streaming on any platform. And specifically Netflix was one of those. And the thing was that platforms like Netflix, if they are making sure that there's royalties, right? Royalties that come back, like if you have a song, you get royalties for the music if it's being played. If a TV show plays, an actor, producer, whatever, they get royalties because the show's being run again. or being played again. So every time that you're having a show being played, remember those actors, actresses, producers, directors, all that staff, they're all getting paid for it because of your viewership. There's no advertising dollars. They're getting us just for royalties. And if a show's performing well, if they knew how much the scale of audience was compared to how much they were getting paid, that would make things really different. And that's what they fought for, is because there's certain places where they're not getting paid as much. So they got to find out where they're going to get paid and make sure they get paid from what they're getting. So the point is that there was a new caveat put into the deal for the actors, writers, and I'll get past my point, that they're able to go ahead and get residuals that are scaled on the performance of a show. So if a show does really well and this gets, 10 million streams, right? If a show does so well, it's just blowing up on streams because it reached a certain threshold, a certain level. It crossed a barrier. Once it has raised that bar, it's past that. Then they get a bonus. And then all those people that made that show will get a bonus off of that. They'll get more money, which Netflix doesn't necessarily want to go and give, but it's because they don't want to show the numbers. They don't want advertisers to show the numbers, nothing. But they obviously had advertisers. Look, it looked like it was like a boxing pay-per-view, the way that mat looked. Look at that thing. Do you feel good about seeing all those sponsors right there on the mat plastered like it was just a big billboard? Now, I am not here to apologize or to, give any kind of credence towards Vince McMahon. But you could have imagined that WWE, when they presented it on Netflix Monday night, it's as if Vince McMahon wasn't even a part of it. Okay? At the end of the day, it's still going to be his creation. It will still be that no matter what people think about what happens. Now, there was this argument. There was a lot of arguments. Man, mixed reviews we had online all over the place. I looked on X and I was like, man, there are some people that they're changing their tune. Some of these vocal minority out there on X commenting about the Raw debut. And some of the things I read, man, I am surprised. Shocked, stunned, and mortified that we're getting this. And remember, we always have people that kind of get their whole part of. There were people that continuously go ahead and push and badger on everyone out there, okay? Of everything. When it comes to what AEW does, is it perfect? No. But okay, what do we have on when it came to wrestling for Dynamite Tonight, for example? MJF now is in a new program with Jeff Jarrett. Oh man, people were going apocalyptic about Jeff Jarrett and MJF. So Jeff Jarrett's like the new Sting. Okay, Jeff Jarrett's finishing up his run. And so there's a lot of people that just associate Jeff Jarrett with his run in TNA as King of the Mountain and the fact he booked himself over and everything. Yes, he did. I mean, if he was able to do it, why not? And there was quite a few things he did on TNA that were actually pretty good that I enjoyed. Listen, I enjoyed his run as champion in WCW. I enjoyed his run as champion in TNA. There were quite a few things I enjoyed. The TNA wasn't that bad at that time. I mean, of course, he's going to go and have a glass ceiling with all the other stars that were sitting behind him, waiting to go and get up front. We know. Motor City Machine Guns, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, right? We get that part. Like, there were all these other stars that were kind of in the background that were never going to get to the spot that Jeff Jarrett was holding on to because he was booking. He was writing the show. And Dixie Carter allowed it. So everybody's all upset about that. Now Hurt Syndicate is now looking at trying to get tag team gold, and they're confronting now, right? With Private Party. That's the new thing there. So they're setting things up for Rebellion coming up in March. So the seeds are getting planted right now on setting all that up. That's great. Tony Storm's gimmick still doing really well. I mean, Kenny Omega's finally back now. Now he's got to confront with Don Callis, and they got that going on. Ospreay and Omega, that's going to be a thing. So they are stirring up the pot right now. They at least have moved along with storylines. And more than that, Cope is now going to confront Jon Moxley. That's the new thing right now, where Death Riders still going to be a thing. Moxley's still champion. So you'll have MJF kind of get involved in a mix, and they're working something out. I can at least give credit to Tony Khan. He's making progression in the storylines. The one thing we actually had this time around was we actually had on the Netflix debut some storylines. I don't know if they're going to be closing up and be done, but maybe we saw some closure. Rhea Ripley winning the Women's World title off of Liv Morgan, finally. Roman Reigns finally winning Tribal Combat to go ahead and finally make an end, hopefully, to Solo Sikoa as the Tribal Chief, and getting the Ulafala put on around his neck by The Rock, who returned. And The Rock coming on the NXT, I don't get that whole part, but okay. Then Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, that match, and Drew McIntyre takes care of things. And CM Punk, I guess, getting the closure to Seth Rollins? I don't know. So much was being said, but there are a few things I want to point out here that were talked about. So first of all, there were a lot of comments being made from Society Reviews on X about modern WWE fans. I'm going to just say his name because everybody called him out on it. Now, among the others that are out here that I know are the common toxic wrestling fandom, the vocal minority, the evangelists of the toxic wrestling fandom, I'll call them, my fellow podcast wrestling brethren, the media out there. I will keep their names anonymous out of respect. I mean, at some point, they're going to come around to my end of thinking. I realize that everything that's been going on here, where the cash grab, the watering down of storylines, and expecting just to go ahead and just let generic creative wrestlers come in and just be able to go ahead and give this whole idea to the audience. Oh, well, we'll just give the house show experience, and we're just going to make these wrestlers relatable to the audience. No, we're not going to make them larger than life. We're not going to do what Vince did. So the embodiment of having Hulk Hogan at the Netflix debut. Yeah, very bad idea. I'm not going to get in the whole judgment of Hulk Hogan and all this stuff. If you think we need to go and start judging Hulk Hogan and put him on some kind of a sanctimonious pedestal, no, he lost that a long time ago when he was talking shit about Brooke Hogan dating some black guy and telling Bubba the Love Sponge about it, or the hidden tape, excuse me. Okay, it goes back to that. Look, Hulk Hogan, I mean, there's enough to be put about him. The steroid trials, all this shit, man. Come on. His creative control in WCW. There's a lot we can criticize with him. But no matter what, all that baggage, Ric Flair, I could say about the same thing, but he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. We can say a lot about the damage that always goes. And Vince McMahon, for the mad genius that he is, a lot of shit going on as well. We'll see if the arbitration goes through and he gets to go ahead and just pay off the woman, Janelle Grant, and that's it, without anything else coming out to light. For the good of TKO, for the good of WWE, because also, where would Triple H be involved with this? Attached to John Laurinaitis or Bruce Pritchard or who else? Okay. Back to Society Reviews. The current fan base hates and despises everything the company was built on. They hate Vince McMahon. They hate Hulk Hogan. They hate the Attitude Era. They hate the legends. They hate the divas. Modern WWE fans hate and despise everything that was once deemed popular by a previous generation. And these are the fans that are the current corporate structure panders to the most. Fans who fundamentally hate everything the company was built on. WrestlingNews.co, they not being objective, they're just saying, what? LOL. Because they're all going to just say, well, they're going to just follow along with what they feel is a different feeling about it. There are people that are also taking a side of like, they're going to go ahead and support WWE no matter what. Until the wheels fall off. Listen. WWE right now, they don't have to be accountable for anything. They got 5 years right now. Freewheeling. They can be shit if they want to. And they will still get paid. They will still get their money. The Netflix deal, it's like Netflix is trying to get the advertising money off of that. Listen, Nick Khan, genius. Nick Khan. Let me make sure, okay? Nick Khan's a genius for what he did. What he created right now with this product, listen, the deals he's made, he has nothing to do with the product that's being presented. All right. Again, everything was doing just swimmingly up until WrestleMania last year. Post WrestleMania last year, we have been in this moment of 8 months of just, I don't know, man. It's confusing. Again, we were okay with how everything was SummerSlam 22 when Triple H basically took over the helm. It was fine. For a couple of years, we were doing okay. Why this sudden change here of where we are? This stagnation and going to this house show environment. It honestly happened when Lee Fitting came in. This whole move, look at the drone cameras and the views around. Like, this is the kind of thing, like, okay, the drone camera views going around, they showed a montage of that on the social media for WWE, right? For WWE, and you know what? Okay, so nobody needed to go and actually watch the show for that. Like, how cool is the camera shot? Oh, look, swerve, oh, wow. Again, they think this is such an important thing. Then there's to talk about, okay, another person on X. Roman Reigns kicks out of the Samoan Spike. Rhea Ripley kicks out of Oblivion. Jey Uso kicks out of a Claymore. CM Punk and Rollins kick out of multiple finishers. And WWE fans cheered for everything that they criticized AEW for. Yeah, again, they're both guilty of this. Finishers don't matter anymore. Who did I hear from the other day? I hear that now. It's so much more common, and it's true. And then The Rock, and Cody Rhodes, and everybody going after that too. And the thing is, The Rock, being the old school head that he is, the way he handled it was perfect. I do want to play that back because I thought that was actually pretty well done.
Every restaurant, every church, every strip club, the same thing. I heard the same thing. Oh, why are you so mean to Cody? Don't be mean to Cody. Cody's got to finish his story. Don't be mean. Oh, my God. Okay. 1 year later, last night, Netflix, Raw. Woo! Yes. An amazing night we had. Electrifying night, a historic night. Last night, The Rock wanted to give props to Cody, give him his flowers. He's been kicking ass. He has been kicking ass, carrying the company on his shoulders. And then what did they say? You can't be nice to Cody. Don't be nice to Cody. Don't drink tequila with Cody. Oh. At the end of the day, let us all remind them that The Rock is the final boss, thinking 20 steps ahead. So the best thing for them to do is to know their role, shut their mouth, and enjoy the ride that The Rock is taking.
I love it. At least The Rock is he's speaking for fans like me. Yeah. This kind of toxic wrestling behavior, the fandom here, yeah, uncalled for. I know everybody's going to do it, but the fact that it's being amplified like it does from certain vessels out here of my fellow podcast wrestling brethren. Listen, I'm amplifying it too because I'm pointing it out. But I'm also pointing it out that it's not good. It's not healthy for the wrestling community to get all caught up on this. But they are. And again, we can go along and continue to see what was being put out there of what people felt like what this was all doing, right? Another person putting out a thread about the debut episode. They pointed out pointless segments when it came out, and Rhea Ripley wins the women's world title. Undertaker makes an appearance. It leads to nothing, and the time was originally planned to be Becky Lynch's return, so something happened. Mentions the Hulk Hogan appearance. No, it wasn't going to be happening. There's a word that Penta El Cerro Miedo's debut was also scrapped because they wanted to have Hulk Hogan on the show. Maybe Netflix probably came in and had some programming leverage as of what they wanted. Jey Uso and Drew McIntyre. And Drew winning with a real simple, a crappy roll-up to go and get the win. Oh, it should be Jey Uso winning with a roll-up, looking kind of weak, finishing up the match, and how he finished up. They mentioned the whole thing with Rock and Cody Rhodes and how they've all kind of water under the bridge. And the fact that champions were not on the TV. We didn't have... Cody was sitting in the ringside, and Gunther wasn't even booked to defend his title, wasn't even on the show. And he's on the Raw brand, supposedly. And then there was a lack of women's representation. The women's Intercontinental title match for Dakota Kai and Lyra Valkyria got pushed back to next week. So there's that part too. But then one person I've been talking about that, again, has gotten himself into a lot of hot water because of what he has said to other wrestlers and how he has kind of, stirred things up, and wrestlers have come back to attack, which for the wrestlers shouldn't have done it in the first place. But hey, listen, some of my fellow podcast wrestling brethren, they feed off of this. It's obvious. Creating a personal feud, his own personal feud with Tony Khan, and Tony Khan having the audacity to go ahead and respond to somebody that is just asking for them to go ahead and respond back, just to feed the ego, right? So, as I said here, the one person I would figure would be the most excited about, who was absolutely, over the moon about the WWE Raw Netflix debut, right? Of everybody who was out there. He says this. Mentions the whole Hulk Hogan thing. Okay. And he's questioning the entire 3 hours last night, asking, was it truly the night that we as fans expected it to be? Again, he's speaking for the fans. And the fans he's speaking for are part of this associated toxic wrestling fandom that some of them spent $5,000 for front row seats at the Intuit Dome on Monday night to watch this show. And then among the other fans that either Twitch streamed or they were live streaming and watching the show themselves and just, look at me, I'm watching the show with all of you. We're talking together, right? Cool, great. He goes on to say that the answer is no. The WWE leaned far too much into looking for new fans to jump on board with what they are doing by trotting out The Undertaker and Hulk Hogan out there, by sending Hollywood red carpet Rock out there to do one big circle jerk of praise for all his billionaire friends sitting in seats that would bankrupt the common American family. Right. Yeah, 30 minutes of just praising and accolades. Man, I was like, are we going to go somewhere? 30 minutes without a match. It took a long time. Interesting that they went with Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa to start off, but okay. Goes on and says, look at all of our cool Hollywood friends. It's almost like they played make-believe last night, trying to be accepted, parading out there with their fake friends instead of truly being what we want them to be, a professional wrestling company. Most of us understand what they did last night. And of course, you get the typical social media businessmen giving you their expertise, but most of us real fans know why the show is getting dumped, and by people who trust this administration, it's because we were lied to. Triple H said 3 weeks ago at the Netflix kickoff at the WWE headquarters in Stanford, this was the official start of WrestleMania season. That it was not. It's like you attended an extravagant party, you're expecting a meal cooked by the finest chefs of the world, and instead the people during the party ordered Subway Heroes for everyone on Uber Eats. The Rock blew up months of storyline for what? To drink tequila with Cody Rhodes and celebrate what they are as a company. Does The Rock hate his fan base, or is he stupid, or to not expect we won't ask questions? Either shit or get off the pot. Are you working WrestleMania or not? Are you intent on forwarding stories he has left with us or not? Okay, then he moves along. Fans have leaned on the Triple H era to be the alternative to AEW, to be what his father-in-law was not. Vince McMahon hated the fans. He didn't care what he wanted or what he felt. Triple H knows and feels what we feel, but last night he let a lot of those people down. He lied and generated hype that fell flat on its face last night due to greedy businessmen and women and people who generally don't understand the passion that fans have for professional wrestling. We want to invest. We want to feel. We want emotion. I saw literally none of that last night outside of CM Punk and Seth Rollins. Everyone else was a fake, manufactured. Let me make my bosses new happy by doing as less as humanly possible. Money ruins everything from AEW to their TV rights deal that hasn't done a single thing to change it. And see, now he has to go to AEW to kind of like, balance out the argument. To WWE constantly ignoring what the fans truly want during the most important period of the year, to content creators who are bought and paid for that push the ugly narrative that let it play out, let Triple H cook, let it slow burn, all while giving no real opinion or emotion in anything they talk about. It's all fake, just like WWE pretending to be the cool kids in Hollywood last night. I'm sure the next week will be more of what the show will be. Yeah, next week, not January 6th, like we were promised, next week. There's more, I'm not going to go into it. But the breakdown was being said here. The way this was written, I can summarize it like this. It feels the same thing like when WCW was bought by AOL Time Warner. When Ted Turner no longer had a say in the product. When he lost control of the day-to-day operations at Turner Sports or with the Turner Networks in general. Because if things were even going bad in WCW, which they were, at least we would still have the show going on. Right now, I feel like, I remember I said that WWE was in their WCW 83 weeks moment. Yeah, it's over now. We are in the post-Starrcade 1998 phase. We're in WCW 1999 right now. We're in early WCW 1999. You got to say it. As for people saying that the Attitude Era and how it was, you know what? I've said it myself many times. There were things to like outside of the whole idea of the Attitude Era in the first place. Okay? The real takeaways of what everybody remembers and enjoys, like the other novelties, Undertaker, Val Venus and Godfather and, all the other sex-laden kind of stuff that they were going on with and all the other violence they had, whatever. It doesn't matter. The real attitude came from the stars that have always stood the test of time. Stone Cold, Rock, Mankind, Triple H, DX, right? All of that. And moving on down. But without Vince McMahon still being around, Triple H doesn't have the kind of pull. I mean, Vince McMahon, he got pushed out. All the accusations of June 2022 probably were some ways to kind of get him pushed out. Now, deserved it, probably because he probably did some of the things that they said that he did. It's just that, he's got enough money and enough clout to be able to go ahead and skate the charges from anything criminal happening to him, just like everything else. But civilly, of course, he'll get hit hit with the wallet. But what Tony Khan at least he has control of the company. Listen, he might have Warner Brothers Discovery, handling the product with him. And of course, they have a say in this. But Tony Khan still is in control. He is the Ted Turner of his day right now. I mean, he owns, Ted Turner owned WCW just like Tony Khan owns AEW. I mean, the thing is, for now, it's a much easier fix for Tony Khan to get things righted, get the ship right back where it should be. He's got an easier chance of doing that. He's just got to get out of his funk and stop relying on having the older talent kind of just dictate where things go in storyline. And the way that some of the pillars are being used, listen, there is something to be said about like the people in the back, the veterans back there saying, yeah, the pillars need to be working with some other stars. And I get that part, and they are trying to do that. I mean, I see it. When you look at what they did just tonight, right? Aside from Will Ospreay and Buddy Matthews, which was really great, that whole setup, just to get those guys with each other, that was cool. We had the Casino Gauntlet matches and all right. The fact that now we're going to have MGF working with Jeff Jarrett, Hook working against Christian Cage, right? Hobbs now going to go after the world title against Moxley. The whole stuff with Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin working against the Death Riders. Pillars. Trying to build off of that. I get that part. They're trying to do something with that. I get what they're trying to do. It's part of where, instead of the pillars working against each other, they're working against the veterans. It's the build-up they're trying to get for those folks right now. And among other things that everybody got all pissed off about is that Royal Rumble 2026 is going to Saudi Arabia. Man, that got some people pissed. Oh, boy. Ooh, man, people were not happy about that. Oh, I saw that. I was like, man, I don't know what's anybody going to say about that, but man, people were not happy about it. So there's that commentary I just told you about from another person who does podcasting like myself. Like I said, God bless him. Good on him, because he's got a much bigger audience than I have. You know, he's making a living off of it, and he doesn't have to do anything else. Listen, fine. But I wouldn't want the pressure of having to go ahead and try to have to explain myself or take the kind of blowback that he gets on a regular basis. I wouldn't want that. Not for that kind of pay. Forget about it. I'm more than happy being right here, sticking to my guns, not changing my mind about things, knowing how I've always watched wrestling and how I've enjoyed it. You know, when I think about, like, I look at all the wrestling that we have right now, currently, and I still see on my TikTok feed, man, I watch the old Crockett WCW stuff, Horseman and Dusty Rhodes, and man, just everything going on. Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, like, it's just a different feel, man. Or Hogan or Savage doing their cutting up promos and all, just like the wrestling and the storylines that I got back then, and everything going on with World Class, and man, it was just different times. Another commentator was out there, one of my fellow podcast wrestling brethren out there, making the point saying that the episode is like a 3-hour beginner's pamphlet of what WWE is, with their regularly repeated thank yous to sponsors and Netflix executives. Also saying that it's a very broad, and for the casuals TV episode, not even for hardcore weekly WWE watchers, let alone hardcore fans. Missing the weighty, lore-dense promo segments that have become commonplace on the show, and a lot of the regulars like Io, Braun, Sheamus, Kaiser being shafted. Someone also saying this was a rather insipid episode, too much pomp and circumstance over non-lasting celebrity sightings. Right? There's more to it. And the other part is, like, when some of my fellow podcasters were making their comments, then you see the comments after this, what everybody's talking about. Here we go. Some of the comments being made to apologize of the toxic wrestling fandom. Let's take their words for it. It's been a great show, though. And there's been story, plenty of culmination in the first 2 matches. And we know Drew's going to crash out after that loss. I'm very confused by this statement, LOL. It's the introduction show. They're all going in on the presentation first. I didn't expect this to be a wrestling heavy, because they're going to do everything to introduce the stars first. Roman versus Solo is good. Liv versus Rhea is good. I expect Seth versus Punk to be good. 7 out of 10 show. 7 out of 10 show, he says. 7, 1 to 10, 7 is the number he has for it. Another person, I'm going to kind of give it a pass. The first impression show with a lot of new fans watching, probably don't want to go heavy on story today. Almost feels like a mania in how much they are catering to pop culture, which is fine. But yes, they've played this thing very safe. Another one, tonight's show's really closes the chapter on some of these feuds, so there won't be much story. This is kind of like a PLD closing feuds on starting new ones next week. Another person, it all kind of went sideways with a double Rock appearance. Too many commercials and Tribal Combat. Jay and Drew overwhelmed. Too many celebrity spots and Netflix references. It's been a fine show, not great. Rollins and Punk is what I wanted to see. Hopefully they deliver. And everybody is all caught up on trying to make excuses for it. My opinion, it was a long 3 hours. Long-winded 3 hours, 5 minutes. The entrances took forever to get done. And not saying anything at all with the folks leading up the ringside and all that, I can't stand it either. Couldn't do it. too much of that. And I was just like, man, let's get somewhere with this, huh? But everybody was all kind of content with what they were getting from it, right? So I was like, all right, yeah. Among the things we learned about when it comes to Raw and what happened. So the numbers, WrestleNomics trying to go and get a report on this, and they reported this here. Brandon Thurston talked to Netflix on Tuesday. If they would be announcing any viewership data, and it's about 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, they said they had no information to announce. I will be surprised at this point if there's any kind of announcement revealing viewership data as related to the premiere of Raw on Netflix. Paul Levesque never mentioned any viewership numbers during the post-show press conference, but indicated he was being informed of the viewership numbers throughout the night and said Netflix executives were pleased. Netflix, WWE Raw was listed as the number one show on Netflix for part of today as well as yesterday, Monday and Tuesday. Netflix confirmed to me that WWE programs will be eligible for listing in Netflix's weekly top 10 rankings, where they break out some global viewing data as well as the ranks of top 10 programs by region. Samba TV reported that 664,000 households watched Netflix on Raw when it aired. And then Samba TV said at the same time 1 year ago, there was 12% more audience at that time. But yeah, there used to be that thing where I used to go to about Raw ratings, right? And do you think we're going to get anything like that right now? It's like I'm really fascinated by what they're going to be able to say. Now, Raw, NXT actually got a big boost of viewers, got almost 1 million viewers Tuesday night with The Rock appearing. 957,000 viewers. Wow, big deal. And he's coming back again, right? Sports Illustrated tried to also speak about this well, what viewership success would say. The Athletic spoke with Netflix's Vice President of Unscripted and Documentary Series, Brandon Arrigue, about going into business and the measurement for rating success as it is for any other piece of content that runs on the platform. And Arrigue said, at its core, quote, it's no different to any other entertainment program. It's a case of saying, what does it cost? And then what's the return of that investment in terms of how many people are watching it and their level of engagement? But nothing's been said about what is going to be the overall viewership numbers. We're not going to know. Again, everybody's trying to go and make a discussion. Are we getting anything about this at all? Hollywood Reporter putting out information about this. And they put a very interesting story out about what happened with WWE being on Netflix. And a very interesting story. Mikey O'Connell. Let's talk about this real quick. So this writer for Hollywood Reporter said he was compelled to sit through Monday Night Raw on Netflix. He went to the show. Now, he makes a good point on here. He says that WWE's move to Netflix isn't just another box in the grid of sports rights bingo. It's part of a conscious effort in wrestling's new era to scale its success globally. The massive entertainment sports brand counts an estimated 90 million fans in the U.S. alone. Possibility of Netflix growing to its 282 million subscribers in more than 190 countries is tantalizing for all parties. How this future global live streams will perform abroad remains to be seen. What was evident in the arena on Monday evening is the Hollywoodification of WWE is complete. No one from the sometimes taxing 3-hour ordeal signified this shift more than when The Rock offered opening remarks. After a slow procession into the ring where he kissed Endeavor and TKO Group Holdings CEO Ari Emanuel on the forehead like Emanuel was a baby on a whistle-stop tour, The Rock jokingly threatened Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos about buffering. Right. The telecast, which was good, did not have any issues or technical issues at all, like the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. So they got through that. The Intuit Dome crowd, which looked at any excuse to cheer or jeer over the course of the evening, illustrated this when rewarding the approval of the Netflix Totem that kicked off the show. The animated logo of a tech giant elicited actual screams of joy. We'll see how long that lasts. Celebrity Independence was a potpourri of fans and head scratchers. Camera painting to the front rows, Ashton Kutcher, Vanessa Hudgens, Macaulay Culkin, Seth Green, Tiffany Haddish, Richard Gadd, Michael Che, Danielle Fishel, Kelly Osbourne being in the crowd. Matchups themselves were illuminating. The first contextualized for me by the patient man in the neighboring seat. So they had the whole deal with Roman and Solo, right? So he goes to the matches themselves. And he goes into Hulk Hogan stuff. I'm going to just skip out of that. But for the legion of Netflix subscribers, he closes out, says, who now blindly sample whatever pops up in the streamer's carousel on the top 10, I'm guessing a lot of them will get the idea of how booing villains is going to be cathartic and cheering, as well as cheering the heroes. I don't know if what they did resonates with a newer audience. I don't know if we had a lot being said about what got people interested in it, if it really did bring in new viewers. But we won't know the gauge of the audience that comes out of that. We're not going to know that part. WWE says they're going to announce significant viewership for Raw on Netflix. And that the streamer is still finalizing data as we go into it right now. So there were a few things that did not happen at the show. Becky Lynch did not appear at the event and was not involved in the show's creative direction. And sources indicate that WWE plans to reintroduce several major stars, including Lynch, in the coming weeks, aiming to maximize their impact and effectively introduce them to Netflix's broader audience. There was praise for Joe Tessitore, Big E, Wade Barrett for the performance on the Raw post-game show. Many were impressed by the loud crowd reaction to Tiffany Stratton, who won the Women's Championship over on SmackDown. Pretty significant. Also kind of interesting that they decided to go and put this out here where she won the belt. She finally cashed in the briefcase, not on a pay-per-view, just on a random Friday Night SmackDown. Yeah, the first one of the year, but still, it felt kind of just off-putting that it happened then. The way they pulled it off, not bad. I'll give it that. I'm not going to go much farther into going into what happened with the Netflix debut. We'll give them some time. See if they sink or swim. But it's here anyway. It's not going to change at all. We're just going to go ahead and live with it and bear it and see what they do. But honestly, there was nothing WrestleMania related at all to this. I don't know if we're going to get to that point. Even setting up for the Royal Rumble, they got to start doing that now. So there's the path to adopting new viewers along with trying to get WrestleMania set up. When they're going to Vegas, they got to get that show. They got, again, 2 shows going to be built out. But look what they're doing, man. The double pay-per-view days, the 3-hour shows. Supposedly Triple H is going to have the SmackDown show get dropped back down to 2 hours at some point. They didn't say when that's going to be, but all right. We'll wait for it, see what they do. But you didn't get any real... There's not anything I can really praise about the Netflix debut. It was just what it was. I think it was slow. The slowest pace I've ever seen of a show. Felt like it was Kevin Nash when he tried to do that one Nitro. And for the first hour, not even put wrestling on because he could do it. That's what they did on Monday night, honestly. Anyway, come back for another Wrestling Real podcast next week because wrestling needs us.